Hi, I'm John Call, and this is a Box Elder School District training for benchmarks. Hopefully this will be useful for you. You can use it however you'd like. In a faculty meeting or whatever, glad to make this happen for you. So today we're talking about Utah Rise benchmarks. They are up and going right now, access to everything except I think because science is on its new core, I believe science isn't going to have anything until January, I think was the last date I heard. So don't hold your breath to science, but everyone else, we have access to things. So now, us teachers, we should have received an email that looked like this from error AST, do not reply. Okay. It is basically they give you a link that will expire in 15 minutes. I'm pretty sure that's passed already. So go ahead and instead of using that, we'll go ahead and just go to the link utahrise.org. This is a different site from last time, from last year. So it's a different vendor this year who's providing us with the RISE tests. So when you get there, it looks like this. Everything functions really well as far as I've had access to. There is one little issue accessing things with pop-ups and such, but generally for the most part, things are great. So now if you go to that website, basically if you click anywhere here with these little lock boxes there, it will have you sign in. So yeah, so go ahead, click on that, and then it will have you sign in, and just click on the forgot your password. Okay, it does appear that we will have to reset our password for this website every year. So then you would just, if like in the next year, in 2020, in fall of 2020, when you want to access benchmarks again, you will have to request that because AIR, this company, is contracted for more than 1 year and things look to be working well. So go ahead then, after you click that forgot your password, go through the normal email reset process. Okay. When you do that, you'll get another email with a confirmation code. This is my code, and each code is different. Okay, so don't try using that if you try to log in. Okay, and it does set a 15-minute timer on this code is available and usable for 15 minutes. After that, you do have to like basically go through that same process again to get the code to make that work. It works pretty well. Every time we do open a new browser, you do have to like okay that browser by getting another code. So you'll use it on like 4 computers, maybe like a home PC or like your school PC or a PC in the computer lab. You do have to like always like use this code thing with a 15-minute time limit to enable your browser to be access this website. It's part of their security protocol. Okay, so now if you need to pause me while everyone's getting logged in and setting up, that would be just fine. Right now is a great time to pause. But yeah, so let's go ahead and make sure we're all in the same spot. Go back to the RISE website and let's go into benchmark previewing. We are focusing on benchmarks today. This will give you a general overview of this presentation, of the website and how it works. So the first thing we need to do if we're going to give a benchmark is know what benchmarks we have. Okay, so every time you click on that, you're ready to log in, and it says, warning, this site requires pop-ups to work properly. Please disable your pop-up blocker for this site and then try again. So up here in the little corner of Chrome, and I did everything here in Chrome, so if you're using a different browser, I'm sorry, it's going to be different. I'm not going to like show every browser's possibility of how to enable pop-ups, okay? So you click up there and you click on it. It pulls this up. I did enlarge this so you can see it a little bit better on my screen. I just say always allow and then click on done. Really not a big deal. Okay. Then click try again. When that happens, it should then go through. That's the only hiccup I have, an issue I have with this website is having to get through those pop-up blockers issues. It just seems like every time you open even a new browser, you've even opened it before and okayed it, it seems you have to always allow pop-ups. Okay. And you'll just get really used to clicking on that little button, clicking, yeah, you'll get really used to this thing. Always allow, done. Yep, allow. It happens a ton. So then now, we're going to go and preview what benchmarks are available. This is nice because you can actually see all the questions that you're going to be giving your students. It's been good. So select the grade you want to preview. Yeah, and there's even I think there's some extra stuff in there from grades even in 10th grade. It looks like. So I'm an 8th grade math teacher, so I always pick 8th grade, but that's kind of what we're looking at. So you see that we have, as you pull it up, go through and look, we have a lot of different kinds of benchmarks. You'll notice that for each benchmark there's an A and a B version, which is nice. You can actually later, if in a later presentation, we can actually use this if you give benchmark A as a pretest, and then you give benchmark B as a post-test. It will actually show, like the data part will show like how well your kids improved between those two benchmarks. So anyways, go ahead, feel free to pause me for a second and then have your teachers browse, see what benchmarks are available, see what's good, see what you like, see what you don't like. I'm not going to throw any questions up here because, again, we should need to keep these items secure. So yeah, pause me, go. Okay, so we took a couple minutes, look through this, you pause me, or if you were just flying through this thing, I might be doing that too. Okay, the last information we received was that these testing items should remain secure, meaning there should be no copying of questions for teacher use. Like, I like that question, I'm going to make it like my own little quiz for it. No, we can't do that. And we can't display the questions for class discussions. If anything changes, we'll let you know. Now, as you look through these benchmarks, you'll notice that there's no answer key, and you will not receive a score when you submit your answers. So basically, you get to impersonate a student and like see what the questions are and that sort of thing. The idea is that teachers get familiarized with what is on each benchmark and not to give answers to quiz questions. So that's just not going to be like the main focus of this software. Some good background. So AIR, the same company who ran the SAGE tests, is back. The new testing software is very similar setup to how SAGE ran it. Teachers and school proctors can give tests and print tickets. We're not only allowing the teachers to print things. Most of the problems we've had last year have gone away, and we added a pop-up issue, but everything else, like most of the other issues we've had, are gone. So we can go back to how we ran tests 2 years ago. And things seem to be actually very positive in this new returning back to AIR, which is, I think, owned by Pearson. But anyways, so it's the same setup. And this is kind of has the same setup as when we're like, remember, like you have to like give them the live ID and always like hit that refresh and approve students to join tests. That's kind of the setup we're returning to, which worked. So that's probably a good thing. Okay, so there are only now writing prompts. For 5th and 8th graders are on benchmarks, but there are only 2, and they're found in the benchmark section. They're available now. I don't know how this works. I don't know how the scoring works. I did hear, I think, that they're trying to have them be computer graded, and I'm not sure exactly what that means. The teachers will always be able to go back and look and see the students' written work there, but I'm not sure how well, like what the computer does and how well it's grading it. So, anyone in the district, let me know, and I can add to this and see what's going on. Okay. Also, I have this presentation up. It's shared in a Google Drive. If you want access to just the presentation, you want to read through everything, let me know, and I can let you have access to it. Okay. Now, just a reminder. Okay. Again, no showing students problems on the Smartboard. Teachers do not see answers, and students do not get to see their benchmark scores right away. Okay. Benchmarks average about 10 questions, so I kind of see it about as a kind of a longer quiz. It's not really a full like class period activity. Kind of see it as more as like a 10 to 15 minute thing. When you look at scores, you'll easily find the students' overall scores, like 5 out of 9, but it takes a little bit of digging to find where each item that the student missed. So like student A missed question 3 and 4, and it's kind of looking at that. The data does look pretty nice to use, but that really looking at the data will be visited at later. Okay, how to give a benchmark. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we do need tickets. Now the people at the state office were talking, saying, oh, you don't really actually need tickets, and that's true. If your student remembers their SSID number, that is what they'll use to have gain access to this, and their first name. So that's great. So the one issue that we like about tickets this time is it's the same ticket for everybody. We're not printing off tickets for benchmarks and then printing off tickets again for the interim and then printing off tickets again for the summative. Everything's just the same ticket because all they need is their student ID number, their SSID number, and their first name. So that's nice. So, but they do have an option here to print off the tickets. And really, if you wanted to find a workaround where you didn't have to like go here, you could probably look up their SSID number in Aspire and find it. That's also not a big deal. So, but the tickets work great. So let's go ahead and see. We do need to print tickets. They do probably have tickets. None of my students really know their SSID number, and they're in 8th grade. They've had like 7 years of this testing stuff, and or however many, less than that, but. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. So go ahead and this time we're picking this TIDE Student and User Management. That's where we print off tickets. So you click on that. Remember, we had to return back to our back to the main website, right? So you go back to the main website, click on TIDE, and you'll have to go ahead and make sure like the roles are selected. Oftentimes it will leave a blank and it's only one option. I'm not sure why we need to have that. Just make sure everything looks right. Again, this is what mine looks like. So user role, a teacher at Box Elder School District, at Bear River Middle School, that sort of thing. Then hit submit. Okay, now it pulls this up. We have kind of this prepare for testing thing where we can check for rosters. Everyone's roster should be updated nightly. So rosters should be up to date. As far as I could tell, my rosters were perfect. I've had 0 issues with rosters. So if there is an issue, you're going to have to check with, just make sure students are registered in the right classes and stuff. And if there is an issue, we can contact someone here in the district office. Okay, so open that up. Then click over here on the right side in green where it says print test tickets. And then I enlarge it so we can see it. And then just click print from roster list. Okay, your rosters are uploaded, we're good. Okay, so again, it's kind of strange. When you click that, it pulls up this next site. You have to select your teacher name, which there's only one option there. Okay, so that's my name right there. And then we can click search. Okay, and then it says your search returned 5 results. This is because I teach 5 classes. In the elementary schools, I would hope it only brings back 1 result. So again, my roles may look a little different than someone who teaches the 4th grade, but it should say that. Okay, so then when you do that, you click, just make sure we got this. You just click view results, and then we're here. This is what it looks like. Notice that for those of us who teach multiple classes and teach hours and stuff, we do have like my 6th hour is listed here, my 1st hour is listed here, 2nd, 4th, and 5th. Even though it isn't in order, at least they did give us that 2nd digit there to kind of tell us where things are at. And you can kind of see number of students that we teach, and just to print the roster, I think I could print all of them at the same time. I just found it easier to print 1 class at a time. It helps me stay organized. So go ahead and click that spot right there, and then click up here to where that little print symbol, and then say click print, and then test tickets. When that happens, we choose like the different kinds of test tickets we want. So this is the smallest size it had, was a 5x2. Which would probably be a good default size. The font wasn't small, it was easy to read. And then you click print. Okay, now this is strange because you do click print, but it actually isn't going to print. Instead, it downloads a PDF of your class tickets. So then you can print it now. Also, you could just save it as a digital file. I like to save a lot of mine just to have backup, so if I need to print it again, I can, but I don't have to like remember where everything is at, and I can just print off that roster again. So it's there. So you see that it just comes up and just downloads right there. So again, going back to this, when you do this, every time, like you don't have to print off a new ticket every time. A lot of elementary teachers probably would like to laminate theirs, so every time they give a benchmark and then they're ready for an interim or whatever, that's all done. So 1 set of tickets for everything. No multiple tickets and remembering which one goes where, and this is not for an interim, whatever, all that mess up ticket stuff that happened last year, gone. You have 1 ticket. It's the same ticket for any of the benchmarks, interim, or summative tests you take. So not really a surprise there. Okay. So now that we've printed tickets, we have tickets. Hopefully it's super easy, and it wasn't really a big challenge. It was just fine. Let's go back to the main website again and look at how we can give a benchmark. Okay, so we did benchmark previewing first. We talked about TIDE Student User Management. That's TIDE is their system for that. Then we just click on Test Administration this time. So clicking on Test Administration, you have to, again, randomly, you have to click like, oh, hey, I'm at Bear River Middle School, or I'm at North Park, or I'm at McKinley, or whatever, wherever you may be, okay? Select your school and then click go. And again, with the pop-ups, like every time you try to get somewhere, it's going to do this thing. This time the pop-up is slightly different. You still have to click on that little circle thing up there, and then click always allow. And yeah, and every time you open it, it does this. I don't know why. You'll get really used to it. And then click done. Okay. But this time they don't have a button for you to hit down here. You actually have to click up on the refresh button on your browser and say, yeah, refresh it. So click refresh, and then it pulls it up. Okay. So hopefully you'll end up on this page. So we see actually the interims are up and going right now, and what we're talking about benchmarks. So click on that plus sign, open up those benchmarks. Okay, so you see that we have math, reading, and if I could scroll down more, you'd see the other options there. All of the benchmarks you had are there, and they're just kind of organized by grade that way. So find the benchmark you were looking for and select it. Notice I could, if I wanted to select more than one, but don't. Only select one at a time. It's a lot less confusing for students, okay? So then go ahead and select it, and then click start your live test, okay? When you do that, it will come up here for test reasons. Now, test reasons is nice if you're going to give a lot of benchmarks. It's nice to give, like, call something pre-test, a post-test, a fall, winter, spring, whatever. So this helps us sort your data. Basically, later you're going to be like, oh, this is a fall test. You can look at all the tests that happened in the fall and pull them up really quickly. It just gives you a nice sorting option. So if you're not giving a ton of benchmarks, I wouldn't worry about it. If you are, though, I would label it as best you can, because that's going to help us in the future if you wanted to really have the data work for you. So also nice if you call something a pre-test and then take that same benchmark again later and call it a post-test. We can look at growth also there, which is kind of fun. Anyways, so pick one of these options for test reasons. They are really only for sorting data. So the name doesn't matter as much as long as you remember what you called it. So anyways, then click OK. I always called mine pre-test, by the way, when I gave my benchmark a couple weeks ago. So. Okay, then basically we have the students there. Share the session ID with them, this live option here. Again, that just changes every time. The live always stays active. It's always live first, and then these last 6 digits to pick the test. Once students have signed in and you're ready for them to take the test, you can click on approvals, and then it pulls up this kind of page here where you just say approve all students, and it just lists the students here, has their name and stuff. Notice here they actually tried to show you like 2 different quizzes were going on at the same time and stuff, and that's something we'd like to avoid. But yeah, you can just you can click here and add one at a time, or just say approve all students, just like Sage, exactly like Sage. Okay, now what do students need to take a benchmark? They need to print a ticket, and then they need the Utah Secure Browser on a PC. It looks like this, and it is on all the PCs. Everything's been pushed out. Or the Air Secure Test app on the Chromebooks. It looks like this on the Chromebooks. Sorry for the poor pictures here coming up. I had to take them on my phone, and they didn't really work out great. So they're going to be a little less on the quality section. But anyways, and that's it. This browser, that browser, and then they're good. I did want to walk you through what the Chromebooks look like because it is a little different. On the PC, you click it, it opens up, and it's basically there. On the Chromebook, as we look into it, you don't have students log into the Chromebook, right? You have them just go down into the lower left-hand corner where it says apps and click on that, and then click that Air Secure Test option. It's similar to what we have been doing when we have been testing, but just remember that is a little different for someone who's like, oh, I don't log into this. You're always going to have like 3 or 4 students who just have logged into Chromebook so many times they just log in again. But that's just what's going to happen. Okay. Now this is a little strange. When you do open this one, you do have to say, okay, select your state. So you select Utah, and then you select RISE on your assessment program, and then click OK. And all this is just off of what the Chromebook is. It will kind of do this Air Secure initializing the application, and load for a bit, and then it should just pull this up. Okay. Again, all they need to type in their first name as it appears in Aspire, and then their SSID, and then their session ID code. And that's it. You see it over here. This is what it looks like on a PC. Again, same kind of thing. They just fill out their information, first name, SSID number, and their session ID number. Sorry, this is really poor. After they click on that, they do just have to verify it's them. It will have their name, their SSID number, their grade, their birthday, and what school they're in. So they do have to verify that. If it's correct, have them click yes. If it's no, they probably typing in wrong stuff, so be careful. And then it will kind of say waiting for approval. And just like we've done before, looks good. Like, just make sure everything's good. The TA clicks approval. And then before they can begin their test, they do their audio playback check and just see how that goes. It worked fine. They did say kind of the heads up is on a PC. Make sure that your sound is on before. I think on the Chromebooks, if you can adjust sound on the device, you can actually probably adjust it in the app. But if it on the PC, you actually have to close all the way out and then fix the sound, and then I'll log all the way back in. It will take a couple minutes to do that. Anyways, okay, as soon as they've completed this check, they can log into the benchmark. Okay. So to make this experience less confusing for students, please only assign one benchmark at a time. If not, then it kind of gets confusing on who's where and doing what. Okay, so that's kind of what we talked about, is that you have multiple. You could select multiple tests to go at the same time, but don't. At least on benchmarks, don't. It's going to be too confusing for the students to know what tests they're taking. Okay, so then where do I find my data? Okay, so reminder, students will not see their scores once they finish the benchmark test. It's something that you as the teacher have to share with them. I do actually appreciate this. If I'm giving a quiz and I want it to stay kind of as a quiz, and I don't want kids kind of talking about, oh, I got everything right, oh, I got everything wrong, you know, that kind of feedback that is important in some practice. But I prefer to wait and then give everyone their scores at the same time. And so as a teacher, I could do that in a couple different ways, but nothing on the computer. I'd have to, like, you know, put it on their grade and let them see it, or however we want to do that. Okay, so now, where is our data? Go ahead and select reporting. And really, you have to give a benchmark before we can dive into this reporting stuff. So a whole full explanation of this reporting stuff is coming later. I just want to get you guys ready for and giving those benchmark tests. Okay, don't worry, there'll be more trainings coming. We have a general reporting overview, kind of like how does the reports work, like what kind of information can I see, kind of those, looking at those longitudinal studies that we can actually see if we call something a pretest and something a post-test and work it out right, we can see that, you know, the students improved this much over this time. We'll talk about reporting and using benchmarks in a PLC. We'll have an interim assessments that are predictive. They let us know kind of how students will perform with data, and then we will end with a summative spring meeting. So hopefully that will be helpful to you. Great, so if you have any questions, you can email me. My name's Jonathan Call, so jonathan.call@besd.net, and yeah, that should be great. Thanks for hanging out with me for these 24 minutes, and have a good day.